Hey, what's going on, guys? Dr. Boyce Watkins here from financialjuneteenth.tv.com. Today, I want to address a really interesting comment that was left by a brother who feels that Black women need to stop expecting financial security. In fact, he sounds like he was saying that Black women are gold diggers. And I'm going to Okay, so here we go. Here we go. Hashtag B1 in the chat if you're black first. This is more so Uncle Boyce talking and Dr. Boyce. Dr. Boyce and Uncle Boyce have partnered for this quick little discussion. I'm just going to get right to it and read this comment to you. I'm going to pull it up. It's on my Instagram. My Instagram is The Real Boyce Watkins. We have really good conversations there. So you may want to follow me at The Real Boyce Watkins. So let me read this. This is from a guy named Hova Castillo. I don't know who that is. And this is not. And he also highlights himself as the most eligible bachelor. Okay, so maybe we know why he's so eligible because maybe nobody wants him. I don't know. He says the reason I'm so bothered by a black woman saying they don't date broke men is because the majority of black men are in the low income bracket. This is due to the obvious reasons of black history and oppression. I don't mean to be the black kid that's trying to be a victim, but it's true. And the problem is, black women don't understand the damage they're putting on the mental health of black men. I see a lot of black men with the most expensive clothes, jewelry, a 2005 BMW with 25% APR with 72 months of financing. Meanwhile, still living in the projects and working at Family Dollar. Black men are damaged, and y'all continuing to put them down. Please change the conversation about money. Stop making money a factor for the relationship. You should love someone for who they are, not what's in their pockets. All right, so let's do a quick little poll. Um, was he correct or was it a bunch of BS? Was he correct or was it BS? Type correct or BS. One of the two. Hey, Dana Taylor, how are you? Hey, Daniel Blackman, what's going on? He said, I've been pushed out 2 times for truth. Okay. All right. Well, let's not get you pushed out again, Daniel. Okay. Ty Cove says correct. Nathaniel says correct. Lisa says BS. Stewart says BS. Mike says pure BS. Marion Roundtree says correct. Rosina says mental health make you lay down with a man. Interesting. Okay. Um, that Shy says that's correct. It's ashamed how people judge people. Okay. Crystal says BS. Keisha, we should do a statistical survey because I'm really curious. Oh my goodness. Okay, Hakeem says I think some of the things he said is true, but we can all do better if we put our mind to it. Wow. Okay. Interesting. Very interesting. All right. So let me go ahead and do a Dr. Boyce breakdown on this because I kind of feel like there's a little bit to unpack here. And um, and by the way, make sure you subscribe to financialjuneteenth.tv.com. I do a lot of Dr. Boyce breakdowns on economics over there. So that's a great YouTube channel. So let's break this brother's statement down sentence by sentence. I hope it's legitimate, and I want to try to be as balanced as I can in the way I analyze this. He says, the reason I'm so bothered by a black woman saying they don't date broke men is because the majority of black men are in the low income bracket. Okay, so let's start with that statement. Do you agree that the majority of black men are in the low income bracket? Do you think, yes or no? Do you think that black men, the majority, meaning more than 50%, are in the broke income bracket or lower income bracket? Well, I will say this. Based on the statistics, the black male does have a very low net worth in terms of wealth. Black male wealth is low. Also, black men tend to lead the pack when it comes to unemployment and also marginalization. What the black man deals with is from the time he's born, the goal is to marginalize him and keep him out of the economic system. And I've kind of broken this down before because here's the deal. One of the things that black men some black men are not taught until it's too late is this: they don't like your ass. They just don't. The world doesn't like you. The world hates black men. Let's just keep it 100. I mean, maybe, I mean, I don't know if you think I'm crazy. Tell me if you think I'm being mean if I say it. I don't know. But the world, they do not like you. I mean, that's why when you have the police shootings, they're shooting black men, right? That's why if you go to the prisons, you go to some of these prisons. I went and visited a prison with my friend Ryan Mack back 10 years ago, Christopher Emden. And walked through that prison yard. It was like being at an HBCU. Seriously, I mean, ladies, you would have been real impressed. There was a lot of strong, handsome, intelligent brothers walking across the prison yard, all wearing the same outfit. So when they created Planned Parenthood, Margaret Sanger was talking about making sure that the little black babies were never going to get a chance to be born. So they declare war on you before you're even born. I mean, this is me. You know, I don't know if that sounds radical or extremist, but maybe we need some radical ideas so that we can actually solve a problem instead of complaining about the same problems every generation. That's why I don't really spend a lot of time around the civil rights leaders who want to hold hands and sing "We Shall Overcome" and pray to white Jesus that things are going to get better. I don't believe change is going to come. Change. You need to make change happen. You need to dig into your power of a God to manifest the change that you want to see. The God is inside of you. It ain't that guy on the wall. It's inside of you. So the question is, are you trying to make a change, or are you just trying to go with the status quo? It's okay. It's okay. But you sit over in the corner and complain. Me and my brother's gonna be out here building and planning and fighting. So here's the deal, right? They don't like you. They don't like your black son. They don't like your black daddy. They don't like your black brother. They can't stand your husband. So here's what happens in the economic system. You guys know I'm an economics expert. I repeat this sometimes, not because I'm trying to be a jerk, but because I'm trying to let you guys know, like, when I'm definitely in my wheelhouse, that that I'm not right about everything all the time, but some people, I kind of need them to just sit back and listen. Okay, listen. Here's the deal: the economic system was not built for you. The biggest handicap they give you at birth as a black man is to train you and trick you into believing that your best chance for success in this world is for you to buy into that system and to commit to that system and dedicate your life to that system. They want you to come and play for the losing team. And then when you commit to that system, you do what you're supposed to do. You go to school, work hard, and all this other stuff. They give you the worst jobs with the lowest pay, if they give you the job in the first place. They're not promoting you to senior management or to make you the CEO of the company. They're a man. And here's the deal. Here's the reality. A man will never let another man come into his house and be the king of his house. That's just not going to happen. It just does. It's not natural. The black man is competition. And so, at the end of the day, the way a black woman and the way a black man are perceived and dealt with when they go into the workplace of white-owned establishments is very different. A heterosexual black male is a competitor. A black female is attractive. You bring the things that you want closer to you, and the things that you despise, you repel them away. So the black woman, well, now we know the black woman is not treated properly. Like some of these crazy rappers, some of the ignorant rappers that started saying terrible things about black women back in the day. That's definitely a conversation that should be had. Right? The disrespect to black women is unbelievable. It's disgusting. But when you talk about the black man and the black woman, it really all goes back to slavery. The master never had no problem having a black woman in his house and next to him. Some of these guys would lay down with the black woman, have babies with them. And then the black man who slept with men, we know that we've had gay people since forever, since sex was invented, right? Well, then he was also brought into the master's house. But the heterosexual black male was a competitor. You didn't bring him in the house. You killed him, or you emasculated him. You definitely kept his ass away. So when you talk about the black male is in a unique position. And being in a unique position means you must come up with unique tools and unique solutions to allow you to be successful in this country. So I'm gonna tell you like this. Any black man, how many black men in here want to be kings? And how many black women are raising kings? Put yes if you either are a king, or you want to be with a king, or you want to raise a king. Put a yes in the chat. Let's go ahead and identify ourselves right now. If you want to be a king, or you want to raise a king, or you want I'm gonna put that up there. There we go. Okay. So here's the deal. When you talk about a black man and how's king defined, a king is a person to me that has a degree of sovereignty, the ability to have freedom in his own life. Freedom is simple. Freedom is a simple idea. Animals know what freedom is. Freedom is the ability to do what you want to do, right? To be able to get up in the morning and decide what you're going to do with your day, to have assets and resources that are under your domain, your power, your control, the ability to have a space in which you are the ruler and you are not ruled by other people. So that's to me what a king is. So here's the deal. When you talk about an economic king, the best way for a black man to be an economic king is to learn how to build a castle. If you're a black man and you want to be a king, you must learn how to build a castle. And the problem that we have, one big problem we have, is that because they never wanted the black man to be the king, but they had a role for the black man. The role of the black man was never the king. The role of the black man was to be the court jester. You were meant to be the joke. That's why the highest paid black people in America tend to be entertainers. If you sing and dance for white people, then they're going to take good care of you. They're going to pay you well. If you play sports for them, they're going to pay you good. You go bust a rap, you go twerk a little bit, whatever it is you do, tell a joke, keep them laughing. They're going to take good care of you. But if you're out here really trying to be, intelligent, then they're going to say, well, what are you doing? You're not supposed to do that. That's not what black men do. We don't need you to be intelligent. We already have white men. We got this part. That's grown up stuff. We need you to be at the children's table. We need you to do what the kids do. Tell us a joke, Negro. Make us laugh. And I'll give you an example of all of that. You saw for example, when Ice Cube went to um, address Joe Biden and Donald Trump, there were even black people, and when he was addressing them on behalf of black people to get them to push forward with a reparations plan, there were black people, even black people, who said, "Negro, what are you doing? Who the hell are you to just think that you can address these important white men? You're not their equal. You're just a rapper. You're just an entertainer. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to address powerful men. What is wrong with you? You're not intelligent. You're ignorant." And black people said this because you got white supremacists in blackface. You had white people who said, "Oh, come on, this guy's just an entertainer. What does this entertainer know about politics?" Right? And that's because basically they were saying, "Negro, you've forgotten your place. You're supposed to be out here entertaining us, making family movies, whatever it is you do, right? You're not supposed to be having intelligent adult conversations and demanding real power." But the thing about an Ice Cube, for example, is that Ice Cube, one other side of him is that, as a man who's probably earned, I don't know how much money he has. I assume he's earned maybe at least $500 million or something in his lifetime. He's a king. And he's not just, he's not a guy looking for a job. He's the guy who creates jobs. He's the guy that manifests his reality. He's the guy that decides he wants to make a movie. He doesn't ask you to let him play a part in the movie. He tells you what movie he's going to make. That's the power of a god, the power of a king. He can manifest things. So as a king, let me tell you how he became a king. He did not become a king by sitting under the white man's umbrella. That's not how he became a king. He talks about NWA, and he says, well, when we started NWA, we had to create our own path. We had to create our own opportunities. We knew that the system had no place for us. When he made movies, he had to go and create his own films because they weren't making those films that black people wanted to see. So he kind of had to go and write scripts and make his own movies because he said Hollywood wasn't going to make that script for me, right? And when he wanted to, get into sports, he's not 6'8", but he said I can go create a basketball league, right? And that's how when he created the Big Three. So he owned the league, even though you got all these millionaire athletes who swear up and down that they can't create a sports league. They don't have enough money. Well, he created a league. It's not as big as the NBA, but it matters. It exists. So what's my point here? Where am I going with this? What I'm explaining is that most of the black men that you see that truly have real power in this world are black men who created their own path. These are black men who said, you know what? There ain't no place in this white man's world for me. Y'all ain't got nothing for me. You ain't never gonna give me a job that's good enough for me to really feel like I've truly reached my potential. You're never gonna a white man is never gonna give a black man power that will allow him to compete with a white man. Are you hearing me? Are you listening to me? Give me a yes or no in the chat. Please listen to me, damn it, when I tell you this, that it is not in his interest to ever, in 10 billion years, to give a strong, competitive, heterosexual male the power to compete with him, because that would be those would be the keys to his own self-destruction. Why would you destroy yourself? He ain't that crazy. He ain't that crazy. Now, some of us in our community have been trained to destroy ourselves. We will cheer for our own genocide, but that's because we went through a specific set of slave codes that taught us how to think like slaves and how to be proud of being slaves and how to be proud of doing things for other people when they give us nothing back, right? We proud of that. We love to brag about that. Well, he ain't doing that. He don't do that. He's not gonna go ahead and give you the gun and say, point it at my head, I need to die today. He's not gonna do that. So the idea, the key idea, and I'm nobody special for telling you this. Malcolm X told you this. Malcolm X told you this. Freedom for black men is never going to be something that you're going to receive voluntarily. Freedom is something that you must always be prepared to take. And if you cannot take it, then you will not get it. They will sit you to the side like a little punk and then laugh at you as you sit and whine about how hard it is to be black. That's just the reality. It ain't fun. I don't enjoy telling you this. Maybe your mama never told you this. Maybe she just, baked you another birthday cake and gave you a pair of Air Jordans to help you feel better. Or maybe your daddy wasn't around to tell you this. I have no idea. But I'm just going to tell you like this. At the end of the day, the more you whine, the more you empower those who want to keep you whining like a little bitch. That's just the reality. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button, share and subscribe button. I'm going to read more of what this brother said. And I'm not making fun of him. I'm not attacking him. I just thought that this was a black woman sent this to me. And it's a black woman who is rooting for black men, but was very disappointed to hear a black man say these things. And also, she was a little disheartened because she's a black woman, who makes good money, who feels like she almost has to lie and hide how much money she makes because so many men can't deal with that. Right now, this does not mean that women don't have issues too. Seriously, I mean, I'm just telling y'all. Some of our people, we're not as crazy as everyone else all the time. I'm marrying a therapist who sees a lot of people who are not black, and believe me, everybody got issues, but you can't sit here and pretend like black men are the only ones who have issues. There's a lot of crazy ass black women out here too. And the reason that sometimes the black woman's crazy is more dangerous than the black man's crazy is because the black man is constantly reminded how crazy we are. We're constantly reminded by the world of how flawed we are. A lot of black women, maybe that become black feminists and things like that, they're getting cheered on by mainstream media. They're getting cheered on by white people, cheered on by the world, who pretty much tells them constantly that every bad decision they've ever made was the fault of a black man. Every bad situation they've ever been in, oh, it was his fault, girl. Oh, girl, you perfect just the way you are. Look at you, girl. You look good. You got you an MBA. You blah, blah, blah. These brothers, they weak. They need to step up to the plate. Blah, blah, blah. Stop that shit. That's stupid. Because you know what? At the end of the day, anybody who doesn't have their father growing up in the house, if you consider the fact that 72% of our kids don't have their daddy at home, a lot of people have issues with their fathers. That's going to affect your relationships. And so if you're wondering why your relationships are challenged, a big factor in all of those outcomes is you. And if you can't take that personal responsibility, if you're offended by what I said, then that right there is another sign that you need to spend some time with a therapist so you can heal, so you can stop thinking that you can just blame everything on the black man. Because I will say this, I'm going to challenge brothers. I always do. But I'm also going to defend them to a point and say, stop it. Stop it. Stop thinking the black man is the scapegoat for every problem you have. white people do it. Black people do it. When white people commit crimes and lie about it to the police, they say, "Oh, a black man did it." And when black women, can't keep a relationship together, whatever, got 4 babies, daddies with 4 different dudes, like, oh, but these black men, these brothers ain't nothing. These brothers ain't this. No, 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 no. I know a lot of black men who are very high quality individuals who engage in a tremendous amount of self improvement, who work overtime to make themselves the best they can be. And you know what happens to some of these brothers? They run into some evil ass, raggedy ass woman who exploits the fact that they've worked so hard to become a good person. They've run into somebody who's so damaged that she doesn't even treat a man right unless the man is abusive. That happens. Y'all know that this happens. This is time. It's time to start being honest with these conversations. And the people that aren't interested in that should probably go. I'm sure there's some website you can go to where they'll sit there and they'll tell you how perfect you are and how it's always the black man's fault. This is not what this platform's all about. But in terms of checking ourselves as black men, I think it's very important for us to look at the world for what it is instead of looking at the world for what white people told you that it was going to be. They lied to you. They lied to you. They lied to you when you were little. They told you, a little Tyrone, if you first they got you all caught up where you spend more time playing basketball and football and rapping than you spend actually studying. Ain't nothing wrong with basketball, football, and rapping. But when you spend more time on the basketball court than you spend educating yourself, then right there you're setting yourself up for failure, because 99.9% of all great black basketball players never make a penny playing basketball. So right there you're making a bad investment. I'm a financial guy. I can just tell you that is what we call a negative NPV project, a negative net present value project. That means that you're making a really bad investment. It's kind of as ridiculous as student loans, where I'm going to go $200,000 in debt so I can get me a $40,000 a year job. So those are some bad investments that we make in our lives that create bad outcomes. But these bad investments don't come from you. They come from the people that train you. You get educated by people that want to oppress you. So they teach you to embrace your oppression by continuing to perpetuate the ridiculous cycles that put you in the situation that you're in the first place. So because they want you to be just like your mama. They want you to be just like your daddy. They want you to be broke and struggling just like your cousin Rerun. So here's the deal. When you're talking about this whole issue of black men and black women being unequally yoked economically, there are reasons for that, some of which have to do with white supremacy for sure. But when we talk about white supremacy is not white people's problem. It is your problem. It is not white people's problem. It is your problem. Why do I say that? Is it because I don't think white people are to blame? No, I absolutely do. I will completely align with you when I say that about 80% of what these folks have been doing to you ain't shit. That's why I stood up when I said, I'm not voting for any politician, any white politician. You're not going to get my vote unless you support reparations. So if you're thinking I'm letting them off the hook, then you're absolutely wrong. I will do nothing for anybody who does not prove themselves to be my ally. But it's your problem because they don't care. They ain't thinking about you. They're not waking up in the morning saying, my God, how are we going to fix the black community? How are we going to make sure that the black family comes together and the black men are happy and black women feel loved? They're not going to do that. They're not thinking about you. I mean, seriously, you wake up every day thinking about how you're going to create jobs for the Asian community? No, you don't. You don't care. You don't give a shit. You're not even thinking about them. They ain't really thinking about you unless they can get something out of you. Unless they can find some Negro who will run up behind them and volunteer to serve them and save them and protect them. I mean, they've been used to that since slavery. They were taught that. That was called meritorious manumission, where black people were rewarded handsomely for saving and protecting white people. That's why you have so many black people being honored right now for saving the Democratic Party. Am I lying or am I telling the truth? Tell me, give me a yes or no if you have seen all of the accolades being thrown out for how black people again save the Democratic Party. How black people again, particularly black women, right? Stacey Abrams is hero number one. Oh my God, you saved us. Thank you, black women. You saved democracy. And there's nothing wrong with that. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with what you did, because some of you voted for that, and it's okay. What I'm saying is that's a backward ass transaction. How are you going to talk about all the great things I kept doing for you when you've never talked about any of the great things you're going to do for me in return? If think about it, if a neighbor saves you and your family by paying your rent 5 times in a row, and are you going to walk around and say, oh my God, thank you, Mr. Smith, you saved our family, you paid our rent 5 times in a row? And let's say Mrs. Smith is having trouble paying the rent. Mrs. Smith is about to be evicted. Wouldn't you at some point feel compelled to say, in exchange for you helping me pay my rent, Mrs. Smith, I'm going to help you get through your situation. Because if you don't help Mrs. Smith after she done saved you 5 or 6 times in a row, then you're a sucker. There's something wrong with you. And something's wrong with Mrs. Smith for not bringing it up. And next time Mrs. Smith, I need you to pay my rent again. I can't pay the mortgage because I ain't got enough money. And Mrs. Smith would probably say, well, you know what? I've done this 4 times for you. You owe me about $8,422.19. So when can I expect payment? When can I expect payment? That's what Mrs. Smith would say, because Mrs. Smith has some self-esteem. Mrs. Smith has some common sense. So next time white folks run up and say, oh my God, black people, we need you to save democracy. Black women, we need you to save the world. We need you to save the Democratic Party. Well, you need to just back up and say, we saved you about in the last 8 elections. Like, our voter turnout was in the 90th percentile, 91%, 92%, 98%. So given that we're giving you a large percentage of our votes, we have struggles too. So when can we expect payment? So if you don't say that, then something's wrong with you. You have to be that's a special kind of brainwashing to teach you that you should save other people and not expect to be saved in return. So with that said, let's go back to what this brother wrote. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button. Hit the thumbs up button. So he's basically talking about how hard it is to be a black man and how black men are broke and how it hurts his feelings that black women expect a man to have economic security, right? So he says that the reason I'm so bothered by a black woman saying that they don't date broke men is because the majority of black men are in the low income bracket. This is due to obvious reasons of black history and oppression. I don't mean to be the black kid that's trying to be a victim, but it's true. Okay, so he says, I don't mean to be the black kid who's trying to be a victim, but that's exactly what he sounds like. He definitely sounds like a victim. He sounds like somebody who's complaining, and that's fine. I mean, maybe there are things to complain about, but let's keep breaking this down. He says, and the problem is, black women don't understand the damage they're putting on the mental health of black men. And then he says, I see a lot of black men with the most expensive clothes, jewelry, a 2005 BMW with 25% APR with 72 months of financing. Now, I'm trying to ask this. Okay, I don't understand how we can blame black women for the fact that there are brothers who will make ridiculous financial decisions. I mean, maybe if you want to talk about his mama, that's another conversation, but or some other way that black women may harm the mental health of black men. But, to respond to the blame game by blaming the other side, that's definitely not productive. Right. And so if you see a black man that has first of all, let me say this. Let me give you some advice. First off, here's the deal. I've done a lot of research. I wrote a book called Financial Lovemaking. So I did a lot of research on love and money and the relationship between love and money. And one of the things I am absolutely certain about is that financial security is very, very important, typically for women. There's nothing wrong with you. You are not a gold digger because you want a man that can keep you secure. Now, the thing about security is that security tends to come in various forms. It can be physical security. That's why women, on average, tend to like men who are taller, or men with big muscles tend to be more attractive. Well, that's because your reptilian brain, which has developed over the last 50,000 years, has instinctually driven you to be attracted to men who can provide security. That's why you'll hear maybe some women say, I'm just attracted to men in uniform or whatever, right? Because it's the security, right? Women don't like to feel insecure. Men don't either, but men are more trained, supposedly, when we're in our truest form, we're trained to provide security, right? That's what we're supposed to. We enjoy providing the security. We don't always need the security. The other thing about security is that security can also come in in the form of emotional security. That's why women tend to be attracted. This is Uncle Boyce with his armchair analysis here. I'm not a psychologist, but these are things that I've read. I do read. I'm a black man who reads. And one of the things that I've concluded from all the things I've read is that emotional security may be part of the reason that women are attracted to men who have confidence. Ladies, give me a yes or no. Are you attracted to men who are confident? Is confidence attractive to you, or does it turn you off? Or, now I'm not talking about arrogance. I'm not talking about a cocky man, because arrogance and cockiness is really a form of insecurity. That's where they're pretending to be secure, but they're overdoing it. So you pick that up as insecurity. So A man who's confident tends to be more attractive on average than men who are not confident. Also, men who are intelligent are more attractive. Why? Well, because intelligence is another form of security. An intelligent, smart man is a man who can solve problems. And if black people have anything, an oversupply of anything, it will be problems. We have a lot of problems that need to be solved. So having an intelligent black man next to you who can sit down and with a piece of paper and a pen and solve the problem is an appealing man for most women. Not all women like the same thing. Some women like weird things. Maybe they like rusty toes, or maybe they like when, maybe they like a man who eats jello, or they think it's really sexy when a man bites his fingernails, right? It could be some random stuff. But on average, if you surveyed 1,000 women, there would be women, the majority of those women would find men who are taller, stronger, smarter, and more confident to be more appealing. What else? Let's get to financial. Well, financial security is extremely important. When I did my research for financial lovemaking, one of the things that I found is that women became really offended, like to the point of being pissed off when they would tell stories about incompetent men who made bad financial decisions that affected the family. So mothers protect their babies. Like that's one of the greatest instincts in the universe. Like if you ever want to piss off a mother and make her want to kill you, then do something to her child. She will hunt you down and murder you. A lot of women will do that. Like they will kill for their babies, and that's natural. That's not just human beings. That's all the mammals. Go steal a baby bear's cubs, you're gonna die that day, right? So because mothers are so protective of the children, a lot of women get really offended if they see a man who does not provide proper security to the household. If he goes and takes all the family's money and blows it at the casino, she will, in many cases, I noticed in my research that women would be more, it's mad at that guy, madder at him than if he had gone out and slept with a pack of strippers. Like, don't get me wrong, not to say that they would enjoy that either, but it was fascinating to me that financial irresponsibility appeared to be almost as offensive to a lot of the women as infidelity. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. They would tell the stories and they would start getting madder and madder as they were telling the story. And I could pick up and then let me tell you, there was one lady, for example, who had she was putting together a college fund for her kids. Now it was a makeshift kind of thing. She was putting money in under the bed in a box, in a shoebox. And her and her husband were doing this. And she didn't know that behind her back, her husband every day was going in and grabbing his lunch money out of the kid's college fund that was under the bed. So every day he was grabbing $20 here, $15 there, whatever. So she's in there. She's like, I keep putting money in here, but it's not growing. Like, how's the money not growing? I've been putting money here every day for years. And she found out that he was reaching in the shoebox and grabbing money and spending it on lunch. And she was telling me the story, and she was like, you mean to tell me that you literally ate and shit out our daughter's future? You ate and you ate and crapped out the future of our children? I mean, she was livid. I mean, really angry to the point where I think she might have divorced him. And so at the end of the day, like that financial security piece, I don't know how you get around that. I just don't. I mean, I'm not saying that money has to be the most important thing in the world. And he was making a good argument to say that you shouldn't use money as the only criteria for why you pick a man. But that old song, when they said ain't nothing going on but the rent, what that basically was saying is, or remember Beyonce said, pay my telephone bills, got to pay my automobiles, that maybe then we can chill, right? That's a little bit aggressive, right? That's a little bit one dimensional, right? That's a little bit problematic. You can run into problems if money is the number one factor you use to decide who you want to be with, right? People get in trouble for that, right? A lot of rich men have STDs, ladies. There's a lot of rich, crazy men out here who will lure you in with the money and will play you like a flute. So don't ever get to the point where money is the one dimensional thing that you pay attention to. But because a person may have had financial struggle in their life, or because she's a single mom trying to figure out how to take care of her kids, if a man is coming in and out of that house and he's expecting the sex, but yet he's not available when the rent's due at the end of the month, it is very natural for a woman to say, wait a minute, I don't really think you have my back. Maybe you're not the best choice for me. And it's not, and it's completely immature for men to be offended by this, because that's the way it's been for thousands of years. So let me keep going. I'm gonna read more of this to you. Do me a favor, hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, hit the subscribe button, and also, there's something I wanted to show you guys. Oh, by the way, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, that's how you can follow me on Twitter. Dr. Boyce Watkins one. So feel free to follow me on Twitter. Now, some people may be offended by this topic. Some people may not like this discussion. Some people don't like stuff like that because you're calling them on their own BS, right? They're thinking about their own life and their own perspective and the silly things that they've done. So they get offended by that, right? They get emotional about people calling them to the carpet. And this is something that happens on both sides, right? Like a lot of black women don't like it when they love it when you give the rah rah you go girl speech, like black women are amazing and beautiful and stuff like that. But when you start really saying things like things that I have to say because I see it, when you say things like, well, 72% of black children don't have their father, and so most black women have daddy issues. That if you don't have your dad, you're going to have a daddy issue. They get really mad about that. But the reality is, I mean, I want you to imagine this. If you want to understand the impact of having 72% of black women grow up without their father in their house, it doesn't mean their fathers weren't involved, but some of them hate their fathers. Like there are a lot of women who hate their fathers, a lot of boys who hate their fathers too. We know this, right? That's one of my issues with Joe Biden and all this is that his crime bill took fathers out of the house. And that's why you have so many black children without fathers. If that was Joe Biden, Joe Biden did that. So but here's the thing. So when people get mad at me for pointing out the fact that 72% of all black women don't have their father in the home, and a lot of them hate their fathers, that affects their relationships. Well, imagine if 72% of all black men grew up without their mother in the house. Like imagine if you had a 50-50 chance when you met a black man, when you say, well, tell me about your mother. Imagine if there was like a 50-50 chance that he would say, oh, I hate my mama. My mom was terrible. My mom was never there for me. My mom was hooked on crack. She was a whore. She was she was bringing men in and out of the house. She was abusive, this, that, and the other. Imagine, like, give me a yes or no. Do you think that would affect his relationships? Do you think that if the majority of black men did not have their father in the house, and a large percentage of black men hated their mothers, do you think that would affect how they related to women? Give me a yes or no in the chat. I'll wait. I'll wait. Give me an answer. Of course it would. Of course it would. There's no way. I mean, if you ever want to see why you have such whiny little boys on the internet, these guys that have entire YouTube channels where they spend the whole channel and all their time bashing black women. Well, you need to go ask them about their mother. Just say, what is your relationship with your mother? And that'll tell you everything you need to know. That subconscious stuff is deep, y'all. It's really deep. People act like it doesn't matter. No, that subconscious stuff where the first person of the opposite sex that you ever trusted betrayed you and broke your heart to the point of disrepair. You don't think that's going to affect their future relationships? Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me right now? So what I'm saying to you is that generally speaking, most of us have issues. My dad, my biological father wasn't there when I was born. My stepfather stepped in, but that still affects me. It affects a lot of things. But luckily, I had a man that taught me what it meant to be a man. So that makes a big difference. Having a man around makes a big difference when it comes to learning what men do. I had a conversation with David Banner once. David Banner is a rapper, but he's also just a great guy. And David, one thing that we both agreed on, we laughed about this. He said, man, when I wouldn't know what to do, sometimes I would just think about what my father would do at that time. And I was like, I do the same thing. When I would run into situations where I wasn't sure what to do, I would think about what my father would do. So a lot of times, the reason that you have a lot of men that don't know how to be men is because they were never trained on how to be a man. They don't know what men are supposed to do. They only saw their mother. So some of them do what women do, right? So that's why you get a lot of men that are very bitchy and emotional, men who maybe are looking for their wife or their woman to become their mother, right? They spend their whole life looking for their mama. And sometimes it works because sometimes the little girls grew up seeing their mama doing everything from taking out the garbage to fixing the roof and paying all the bills. So you have some women who will bring a man into the house as long as he's giving good sex, then she'll pay all the bills, or she'll tell him what to do, just like a little boy, like yell at him like a little child. And so when you have a person who's been trained that way, like if you have a man who's been trained to look for a woman to be his mother, He's not going to fit well with a woman who grew up witnessing the behavior of a strong father. That's not going to work. She's going to be very disappointed in him because basically she's going to be, it's like basketball. She's going to be passing him the ball and he doesn't even know how to jump. He's going to let the ball go out of bounds. He's going to drop the ball every time because he's never known that the part of the role of the man is when they throw you the ball, you're supposed to catch it. You're supposed to dunk it, right? He doesn't know that, right? So he's sitting back waiting for you to dunk the ball. And then on the flip side of that, when you have a woman who grew up in a space where her mama was the domineering force and there she had to answer to no one and there was no masculine energy to balance the household, then she's gonna have a hard time when she runs into a sturdy man. When she runs into a man who says, "No, I'm okay. I do make enough money. No, I am smart enough. I actually do have an answer to this problem. No, I actually am reliable. I'm not going to let you down like your father." Some women, a lot of women will say that that's what they want, but that's not really what they want because they don't know how to handle a strong man. So people always say all the time, all these men out here, they don't know how to handle a strong black woman. Well, there's a lot of black women who don't know how to handle a strong black man. Seriously. Because I can just tell you, there are things about masculine energy that you only learn to understand when you grew up with your daddy in the house. When you grew up watching your mother and father balance the masculine and the feminine on a daily basis, then you understand, okay, this is what men do. This is what they do. So this is when I need to back off. Or, oh, you know what? This is when women, this is sensitive for women, son. So you gotta watch out. When she says this to you, it really means that. So this is when you need to make sure you step up, right? You learn these little things when you're seeing that balance and energy. And if you never learn these things, it doesn't mean that there's no hope for you. It just means you might need to go study the things that you don't understand. It means maybe that there's a void that's not your fault, but there's a void that has to be filled for you to be able to really handle and create a healthy relationship. I'll use myself as an example. I'm hesitant to do that because I don't like throwing myself out there like that, but I'll tell you, I'm marrying a very intelligent, very capable black woman. When she gets determined, you do not get in her way. She grew up with her mother, and I grew up with both parents, and we have constant coaching and support and counseling so that we can learn how to balance the masculine and feminine energy. Because there are times when I have to say, "All right, babe, I need you to pipe down. Like daddy's taking over at this point. Sit down, be quiet. I got this." And a lot of people might hear that and think, "Oh, that's so sexist. Oh, that's so mean." No, because there are other times where I know I need to back down. There are other times where I know I need to respect the fact that she's a PhD, who's a full professor at a major university, and she's an expert in her field. And sometimes I need to learn how to shut the fuck up and be supportive. Sometimes I need to learn that it's not all about me, that I'm not always the right one who always has the right answers. So that balance is, I think, really important to understand. So anybody who wants to have a healthy relationship, the best advice I can give you is this. Number one, make sure that you get some help. Like, you do not have all the answers. Stop thinking that you have all the answers. You don't. You read books on it. Do some self-improvement. Watch YouTube videos, for God's sake. Maybe even, and then if you really want to do well, if you really want to do a deep dive, go see a therapist. As a couple, maybe as an individual, you got to work through your stuff. Unless you're completely happy with every relationship you've ever had and everything always ended up perfect. If that's the case, if everything that you have is always perfect, then you don't need any of this. Then none of this matters. But if it doesn't work out, then you could do what a lot of people do, which is sit around and complain all day. Like, you got women that'll sit and complain about men all day. Girl, these brothers, they blah, blah, blah. And there are people that'll cheer you on. Oh, man, yeah, yeah. Let me tell you, these women, they need to stop. Blah, blah, blah. They need to quit. Blah, blah, blah. No, that means, I'm sorry, brother. That probably means you're either picking the wrong women or you're not the right man. Like, that's what it is. Like, you cannot have an analysis of your life without including you in it. The number one factor in your life is you. You are the only one who's always been there through every bullshit situation that you've ever been through. So the idea that you can analyze your life without including you as a primary factor in your life, right there says you're being ridiculous. That right there says you're being crazy. And there are people, give me a yes or no if you know people like this, who will literally talk about their whole entire life. And instead of talking for 1 second about themselves or what they did or what they're doing or how they're thinking, it's always somebody else. How in the hell did all these other people live your life, but you never lived your life? You were never there. You were never involved. You were always the victim. Get out of here with that nonsense. That's what a child does. That's what a baby does. Stop being a baby. You got to grow up. And the other thing too is that when you grow up, you must date another grown up. That, you know, I talked to a brother one time who told me that that his ex-wife, refused to go to any therapy, and his ex-wife had been through all kinds of crazy trauma, hated her father, had been raped as a child, you know, severely abused, and she refused to even talk to a therapist. And I told him, I said, when you get married again, do not marry a woman who will not go see a therapist with you. If you do not. I this is it's rare where I give a clear do not. Or better yet, let me talk about myself. There is no way on this earth I would ever marry a woman who refused to join me in the process of self improvement and self discovery, because then you're dating somebody who's got issues and they're stuck on stupid because they don't want to address the issues. They're not going to grow. And the one of the keys to a mismatched relationship is when you're growing and they're not. You're going to grow into something different, and they're not growing with you side by side where you're growing together into the same thing. They're literally sitting still. So 10 years from now, you'll be dating or married, you'll be married to the person that was attracted to you 10 years ago, not to the person that's attracted to you now. The person that you're attracted to now will be somebody else who's married to someone else, or somebody else that you can't be with because you're stuck with this person who's stuck in the past. Next point, hit the thumbs up button. And by the way, the blackloveblueprint.com, that's actually like a love and money kind of thing that we have in the Black Business School. So if you're interested in all the self-improvement stuff, we actually made a whole movie about this. It was really good. We had a lot of relationship therapists like S. Tia Brown and some others that kind of broke down what it takes to build healthy relationships. And because relationships and wealth are deeply connected. If you don't have healthy relationships, it's almost impossible to build wealth, because wealth is relationships. Relationships is wealth. The same tenets of economic theory required to build strong businesses and build strong economies are almost identical to what it takes to build strong relationships. If you don't have good relationships, then you can't build wealth, because wealth is built on trust. It's built on reciprocity. It's built on commitment. Things like that. The same things that relationships are built on. So if you ever want to understand why the Black community is last in wealth, well, a lot of it's because the Black community is also last in relationships. You know, we're first in the number of baby mamas, baby daddies. We're first in the, in the number of Facebook posts where people are saying how many people they're going to cut off this year and how many people they can't stand, or I'm not talking to you no more because you voted for Donald Trump, right? Or whatever, right? We lead the pack in terms of traumatizing each other. So the inability to have healthy relationships is cannot be disconnected from the fact that the single Black mother has the lowest net worth in all of America. The single Black father is pretty close. The single Black father, you know, the guy who's got the 4 kids and the 4 babies mamas who can't afford to pay his child support, he ain't doing too well either. So you can't build wealth because you can't build kingdoms. And you build kingdoms through family. You build kingdoms through strong marriages, strong relationships, raising healthy, strong children. So if you're not into that, then it's going to be hard to build wealth, because wealth is a team sport. Wealth is not an individual sport. So feel free to take a look at the blackloveblueprint.com if you're interested. Also, text the word voice to 31996 if you want to get text alerts when I go live. I'm gonna finish reading this guy's note, and then we'll close out. So basically, he's complaining that Black women should stop using financial security as a criteria for deciding what kind of man they want to be with. Um, he says, I see a lot of Black men with the most expensive clothes, jewelry, a 2005 BMW with 25% APR with 72 months of financing. Meanwhile, while still working, still living in the projects and working at Family Dollar. Now, I don't know who these people are, but if you're one of those people, stop doing that. He says, Black men are damaged and y'all continuing to put them down. Please change the conversation about money. Stop making money a factor for a relationship. You should love someone for who they are, not what's in their pockets. So let me give you a simple way to understand how ridiculous that statement is. When he says that financial security should not be a factor in relationships, that you should just love someone for who they are and not what's in their pockets, that's a lot like telling men that you should love a woman for who she is, and that the size of her booty shouldn't matter, that her boobs should not matter. You should love a fat girl. You should love a girl that's 400 pounds as much as you love a girl that's 140 pounds, right? You should love a girl with a mustache and hair that's shorter than mine as much as you love the lady with the long, beautiful hair, right? With the pretty eyelashes, right? Like how ridiculous would that sound if I told men, like, Yeah, man, you can't be using like her body as a criteria for whether or not you're attracted to her. It ain't right for you to like the pretty girls more than the ugly girls. That's toxic masculinity. That's sexism. That's discrimination. Like, how crazy would that sound if I said that men should not, judge women at all based on what they look like. That would be like the stupidest thing a person could ever say, because y'all know what it is. And you go to Instagram, the easiest way for the women get all the followers is when you have the women that'll show their booty every other day, right? They get hundreds of thousands of men following these women. Now, these women are not winning, by the way. I know a lot of women think the hoes are women. The winning. The hoes are not winning. The hoes are lonely. The hoes are unhappy because they're attracting lots of attention, but it's exploitative attention. It's not good attention. It's not loving attention. These men do not love these women. These men see these women the same way a fat kid sees candy. The fat kid don't love the candy. The fat kid just likes the way the candy tastes, right? So basically, don't ever think that the hoes are winning just because she's got a 250,000 Instagram followers because she shows her booty every day. That's not how it works. But attractiveness matters. Attractiveness does matter. So the same way that a woman's hair and nails and booty and boobs will matter to you, well, your ability to provide financial security also matters to her. When I started making money, I became much more handsome than I was when I was broke. I was the same guy. I looked exactly the same. I was the same person. Alicia knew me when I was broke. Alicia knew me when I wasn't broke, and she would testify that I'm pretty much the same. But when I started making money, suddenly really pretty women would hit on me, and I didn't understand why. Well, that's because women naturally are wired to be attracted to financial security. Not all women care about that, though. And I told you that there's a flaw in that. A lot of wealthy men will use their money to lure you into bad situations, the same way there are women who will use their looks to lure men into bad situations. There are women out here. I mean, Cardi B told you part of the game. Cardi B talked about how she would lure men in, looking for quick, easy sex, and she would, drug them and rob them and get them raped by a transvestite, right? So there's a lot of danger that you can run into when you are a one-dimensional picker. Like, so if you only pick men because of money, then that's a problem. If you only pick women based on what they look like, that's a problem. Belle Biv DeVoe used to say, "Don't trust a big button and smile." All right. So in fact, one of the guys from Belle Biv DeVoe, he actually just joined the Black Business School. I thought that was really cool. But anyway, the point of the matter is to say that you cannot pick on one criteria, but you can't get mad at people for liking what they like. You can't get mad at people for being attracted to what they're attracted to. As long as they know what they want and they're pursuing what they want, then who are you to say that a woman is a bad person just because she wants a man who's financially secure? That does not make her a gold digger. And I think that men who run around saying that type of stuff, you got to kind of get in touch with reality, right? Like, people are not going to admit that. Like, people are not going to say like, "Oh yeah, the rich man is more attractive than the broke man." Some people will tell that to you, but most people won't. Most people will pretend like that doesn't matter. But the reality is that if you look at all the studies and the research shows that security is very important for women. And in the Black community, financial security is rare. A lot of us grew up, give me a yes or no in the chat if you grew up in a financially insecure environment, if you grew up where maybe some bills weren't getting paid or money was short, or maybe like I remember growing up and when mama would get paid or when daddy would get paid, we would have more food in the refrigerator than when they weren't getting paid. Like, you could tell if it was payday week by how much food was in the refrigerator. I don't know if anybody else ever went through that, but that was, so money was kind of important in that space. And there are people in really dire situations as children that stays with them. So when they get older, they do want that security. And I think it's also naive for Black men to believe that that all Black women are always going to be attracted to us the most when we don't have the ability to go out and conquer things and achieve things and win, basically win. When you whine, you're not whining is not winning. Whining and winning are exactly the opposite. So the men that are winning are going to be more attractive. The men that are whining are going to be seen as the girlfriend. Like, so if you want to be her girlfriend or live in the friend zone for the rest of your life or be her gay friend at the beauty shop, then keep whining. Keep whining. But if you want her to see you in the way that you deserve to be seen, if you want her to see you as a man, then you need to start winning. And winning doesn't mean that you always get to the top of every battle. I know that it's hard. It's not easy out here, right? You have a lot of brainwashing to fight against. You have a lot of economic inequality. That's very, very real. But what I have found is that I'm talking about the good women, the loyal women, the women that really care. Like I use my woman as an example. She's a real black woman. She's loyal to the black man. She and I both had an oath to ourselves that we would never marry somebody who wasn't black. Even before we decided to marry each other, or even we're dating each other, we just felt like, you know what? I said I'm not going to marry a woman who's not black. Yeah, like, I don't know if I'm gonna get married, but if I do, it won't be to a woman who's not black. She's the same way. So she's down for the black man. She'll ride with me even if I'm struggling, even if I'm broke, even if I lost everything. But here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't think she would keep riding with me if she saw me stop fighting. If she saw me get to the point where I refused to get up and go to work, I refused to even get up and try. I was constantly whining about another man's dominance over me. I was constantly talking about how the white man has his foot on my neck. That would not be attractive to her. And the thing is that when you run around here constantly whining like a little bitch, when you're whining like a little punk, I'm telling you, black men, listen to me. Give me a yes if you're hearing what I'm saying. When you're whining, like if you get caught in that little trap that they want you in, that little trap of whining like a little punk, that is going to make her vagina shrivel up like the fucking Sahara Desert. She is not naturally, instinctively, on any level going to be attracted to you because I'm sorry, I've read all kinds of stuff on human attraction. And one of the common themes is that women are not attracted to men who think like losers. So just because you don't win every battle, I think that's not really the issue. I don't think it's about you having $1 million in the bank. I think there are really great women that will really stick with you through that. But what they don't stick with is they don't stick with a person who just gives up. When you give up on trying to be a man, when you give up on trying to do your best, right? I think that's where you become the loser. So you ain't got to win. Some of y'all ain't got a lot. Some of you are struggling. Some of you, we all struggle. Like I was struggling when I was a kid. I mean, when I was in my 20s, I had no money. I mean, it was really hard. It was really hard. But the thing is, you got to keep fighting. You just got to keep fighting. So that's all I want to say on this. And I think that that's what bothered me about that post. And I think that the black woman who sent it to me, I think that's what bothered her, is that two things. One, the man's whining, not winning, and also he's blaming, which is a lack of personal responsibility, which is almost completely opposite of what manhood is. Manhood is accountability. Manhood is heavily linked to accountability. So when you write a whole post where you're not just being unaccountable and whining about how hard it is, but you're also blaming black women at the same time, adding to the fact that they're attacked by everybody on earth already. They're already being attacked by the entire universe, and you're blaming them. That's going to be hurtful to them. And then here's the kicker. Here's the other key point, and what you gotta go deep to really understand this. As a black man, remember, you're in a competition with the white man. You just are. You really are. Um, and when you are constantly talking about what the white man did to you, and the reason that you can't do XYZ is because he won't let you, what you're actually doing is you're bragging about how great he is. You're bragging about his greatness. If I sit around the house and I'm like, that dang white man, he does this, he does that, and Mr. Smith at the job, he always telling me what to do, and I would bring you some money, but he won't let me, blah, blah, blah. What you're really doing is you are hyping him up. You are bragging about his greatness. And really in some cases, and I've seen this happen, your woman will actually be, sometimes they might become more attracted to him than they are to you. They might be like, well, if you're not a man and he's the man that's really winning, why am I not with him instead of you? Like, and people don't get that. People, the reality, I swear, I'm gonna tell you the story. This is just me. This is Uncle Boyce more so than Dr. Boyce, right? Because I'm just gonna tell you about shit that I've seen, because I've been obsessed, fascinated with the animal kingdom and how other mammals behave and stuff like that. Let me tell you this crazy story. It's really interesting. Hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up button if you haven't done it yet. And also the allblackagenda.com is up there. There are lots. I'm not just going to talk to you about this stuff. I want you to take advantage of any resources I offer that will help you to solve these problems in a more specific way. So the allblackagenda.com is where we have our all black agenda, which is basically our black agenda that we're implementing without the permission of Joe Biden, without waiting on Donald Trump, without waiting on white people, without waiting on 40 million Negroes. This is our agenda. You can implement it in your family. So go to the allblackagenda.com. You'll see what I'm talking about. It's a really good platform. All right. So here's what so I'm watching like one of those nature channels, Discovery, Animal Kingdom, whatever the fuck, I don't know what it was. So they had this giraffe, right? And you always wonder, you ever see like certain animals that look real weird and you're like, wow, how did you mate? Like, how do y'all have sex? Like, this is crazy. So this giraffe, so the thing with the giraffes, I'm not an expert on giraffes, but I probably know more than some of you in here. So let me tell you what I learned about giraffes. All right. So when the way giraffe women are gold diggers, right? If you want to talk about gold diggers, right? We like to talk about women being gold diggers. Well, if anybody's going to be accused of being a gold digger, it will be the giraffe women. And let me explain why. Because the giraffe women, they tend to mate with the strongest males who have the most territory, right? So if you ain't got no land, if you ain't got no assets, then she ain't trying to mess with you. She's not trying to have no broke babies, right? So there's a guy, a male giraffe, and they have mating season apparently, where I guess they only like make babies like certain times a year, whatever. So he had his little area cleaned out, and it was mating season. So he's waiting for the women to arrive. He had two of them right now, so that's a whole nother conversation. So maybe I want to call him a dog or say that he's filled with toxic masculinity. But he had two women coming, right? So he's looking, he's standing there, and he's waiting for his women to show up for mating season, and he got his little crib cleaned out, his little area. He's got this big patch of land. That's why they will come and mate with him, because he's got, you like, girl, he got the nice apartment, right? So he's waiting. He's looking over the trees because giraffes are tall, and he sees the women, and he's like, yeah, about to get some. He's real excited, and then the music changes like dum dum, and then there's a young dude that like comes out from behind the women. And I don't know why giraffes do this, but apparently the young guy was like going to his place to tell him, like, no, these are not your women anymore. These are going to be mine, right? I'm going to be mating with these women. So he goes up. So he's waiting, and he's sitting there, and he's like, what is this? And you could see his face. Like, it was real. He's a giraffe, but you could see where his face is like, what the hell is this? Like, who is this guy? Right. And he's like younger and stronger. So the guy's getting a little bit concerned. And so the young giraffe basically challenged the older giraffe, and he comes up and he's like, I'm gonna whoop your ass, and I'm gonna take your territory, I'm gonna take your women, right? That's what it is, right? Males have this whole domination thing. That's just what it is, man. Like, stop pretending like we live in a kumbaya world where everybody's friendly. No. Men compete. You see that on the football field, the basketball courts, everything. Men compete. Stop thinking that this is not a competition, brother. This is a fight. You in a battle. So the female giraffe, the young male giraffe shows up on the territory, and he is like basically about to kick the old dude's ass. So the giraffes start fighting, and it was real interesting watching giraffes fight, because they fight with their necks. So they were swinging their necks at each other and hitting each other with the necks and knocking each other down and going at it. Now, here's what's interesting, right? The whole time they were fighting, the women were just watching. Like, the women didn't jump out and say, "Oh no, don't you attack my baby daddy. I love this." They weren't doing that. They were just watching, and they were just waiting to see who the winner was. They were like, okay, well, we just gonna sleep with whoever wins, because we ain't gonna sleep with no loser. We ain't having sex with you. If you get your ass kicked, then you have to go sleep with somebody else. But they were literally observing the fight. And you ever see like girls, like when boys are fighting in high school, and how the girls will just be watching? Or there's a basketball game, the boys are competing and the girls are in the stands watching. Well, that's because women, honestly, this is something I had to kind of figure out on my own, because the world doesn't really tell you this type of stuff. They don't, a lot of women don't really like to be around a loser. Definitely not a man who acts like a loser. They just don't like that. So, just to tell you how the fight ended, the young dude's kicking the old dude's ass, right? And it looked like the old guy was going to go down. He was going to take his women, take his territory, and all that. And then the old dude like pulled a trick on him. The young guy hit him, and he fell to the ground, and he pretended like he was dead. So the young guy turns around like, yeah, I won the fight. Like, come on, girls, let's go. And then at the last minute, the old dude like gets up. He used the OG trick on him. The old dude gets up and just knocks the hell out of the young dude and like knocks him down. And he kept his territory, and he kept his right to mate, and they mated with the winner. So what is my point in that story? Look, my point in that story is to say that even animals understand things that we don't understand as human beings. Because the black man has been taken so far out of his natural role as a king and a winner, he's literally been led to not understand even things that even animals understand. Even animals understand that At some point, you've got to do what you can to be a winner. And when you can't find a way to win, then you're going to get treated like a loser. There is no such thing as equality and inclusion and integration and all these other things that they claim are going to let you be a winner despite being a loser. You know, a lot of you grew up maybe during that time, or maybe you were an adult at that time when you saw where they started giving all the kids trophies, whether they got first place or last place, and making them into little wimps and little punks. Well, that mindset that doesn't work in the real world. In the real world, if you can't fight back, then you will get your ass kicked. And the thing about the black man is that you cannot ever truly realize your potential by sitting under the white man's wing or sitting under his umbrella. You cannot do that because you're not welcome there. So if you have a son, tell your son that the advice that comes from Dr. Boyce is that he must be, under all circumstances, by any means necessary, equipped with the skills and required for him to start his own business. He must have the ability to stand eye to eye, toe to toe with that white man and say, I'm not your boy. If you treat me badly, I'm going to quit this job because I have options, because I am free and I am strong. And what this will do is it will translate into a type of energy and a type of power and a type of confidence that will make black women proud of him and make black women happy to be next to him. Now, we know that black women have issues too. We're not going to pretend like they don't. Lord knows we all got issues, right? But we're talking specifically about the black man, and we're talking specifically about this guy's post. This post was a problem to me because what he did was he cited the problem, but he wasn't oriented toward a solution. A baby can whine about a problem, but a real man finds a solution. So I asked the black man in here, and anybody who loves a black man, maybe you can share this video with them. My question to you, man, is like, what's your solution? You know, you can tell me what the problem is. We can talk about the problems all day, but what is your solution? If you don't have a solution, then you have not completed the cycle. You have not fully reached manhood. You must solve the problem. You must fight back. That is the only way you will earn the respect of real black women who are looking for you to rise up. That is also why, and I don't give a shit what anybody says about this. That's why I was very proud when Ice Cube and all the black men that stood with him, and I was one of them, when we stood eye to eye, toe to toe with Joe Biden and Donald Trump and told them what we demand for our community. I was very proud of that because that was one of the greatest exhibitions of masculine leadership that you've seen in the last 40 years. You don't have that happening with the Congressional Black Caucus. You don't see that happening with any of the Negroes on TV. You don't see that with a lot of the black folks who are enslaved mentally and financially and otherwise. We stood toe to toe with him. So when you stand up and you really fight and you're willing to fight to the death, then you're not a loser, no matter what the outcome is. So that's why I said before the election, I said, black people have already won this election. The black man has already won. The black man has already become successful just for the fact that he stood up and made sure that the world knew that he was here and he was counted. And we're not seeking your approval. We are demanding the right to fight you back and to stand up to you and to get what we deserve. And if you ain't can do that for us, then you're not going to get our vote. So the black man won that election. I don't care if Donald Trump or Joe Biden takes over the White House. The black man won. So that's something to be proud of. That's my 2 cents, but that's just my bias. I have a perception that maybe you don't agree with. But I want to also say thank you to the black women who believe in black men. You know, I think that you're very important too. And I'm very disappointed that there are so many men who have platforms who don't show respect to black women. I think that's highly inappropriate. I don't support or respect any of that. And last thing I'll mention as well is we have a platform called the Black Boss Channel. If you want to go take a look, and it's the blackbosschannel.com, and it's basically a space where black men form panels and have discussions on everything from economics to relationships to politics to sports. Jeff Lightsey Jr. does boss sports and things like that. So if you want to be a part of that platform, you can go to theblackbosschannel.com. So as much as I might complain about what this post was, I don't think this guy represents anything close to the majority of the men that I see on the street. I walk down the street every city I go to when I'm in Atlanta, Dallas, New York, Philadelphia, Houston, any city. Black men are stopping me on the street and they're telling me I just started investing in stocks for my kids, or our business, we just made our first $1 million this year, or I just bought an entire apartment complex and me and my buddies are running this apartment complex. There are some black men out here that are getting it done. There are some brothers out here that are changing the world. There are some black men out here that are incredibly empowered, who not only can compete with the white man, but who will accelerate past the white man because we got something special in our blood. So don't believe the narrative. Don't believe the hype that the black man is failing. The black man is not failing. Some of the men are failing. The domesticated house cats are failing. The little domesticated puppy dogs who are sitting inside the house getting fed kibbles and bits in their cage every day, sitting in the house of white supremacy, they're the ones who are failing. They're the ones who are miserable. They're the ones who are complaining. They're the ones who are stuck. The liberated black men who bust out of the cage and go create businesses and go own assets and go buy property, those guys are kicking ass. Those guys are on top of the world. Some of them are right here in this chat. If you're one of them, say your name, say something. So don't believe that nonsense that every black man is a broken down, weak little boy with a skirt on, begging somebody to give him a Scooby snack. Black men, there are black men out here doing things that are absolutely amazing. The only reason you don't see them is because that's not what they put on TV. CNN will put Don Lemon on TV because Don Lemon has a white boyfriend. That's what they want you to see. They don't want you to see the black men who are raising their kids, taking care of their woman, who are physically strong, mentally strong, setting goals, accomplishing things, building wealth, owning stock, buying property, building businesses, doing deals, and living like grown ass men. So every time you talk about what these brothers ain't doing and what's going on with black men and all this other stuff, make sure you include those guys in the conversation. Because when me and Ice Cube were talking about all the stuff going on with politics, we were talking for those men who are doing that. Because so all of us ain't trying to be beta males. That's just what it is at the end of the day. So I gotta go, guys. I'm out of here. Thank you for listening. Hit the thumbs up button, and there's the Black Boss channel if you want to follow. I hope that you will. The guys on there are really, really smart, and they have a lot of great commentary, a lot of great information. And like Jeff does sports every single day. He's like Stephen A. Smith. He knows sports as well as Stephen A. Smith, and he's always talking about what's going on with sports. So if you like sports, you can go to the channel. If you like politics, John Thomas does stuff on there for politics, and they hold panels and stuff like that. I do some stuff on there, so feel free to go check it out. So I'm out of here, guys. Have a good day. Thank you for listening. Please hit the thumbs up button before you go, and I'll see you soon. Take care. Peace.